It's clapping loud enough for everybody out there. All right, Mike. I'm going to be looking at you in the room a lot and at the camera some as well, because this is about merging all of this together. But I'm going to tell a story. March 13th of 2020, I'm working with a client. I get a phone call from my wife. They're making my son pack up all his stuff in his locker. They're sending him home today. They say they're going to be out for 2 weeks. He didn't return back to school. It was his senior year, changed his course of his life, and changed the course of all of our lives that day. Because of why? Because of a global pandemic. We all know to be COVID-19. Prior to that, we were normal, right? It was just, everything just happened. We were doing business, restaurants were thriving, businesses were growing. But yet, we realized on that day, we had no control. We didn't have control of what was going to happen the next day, or the next day, or the next day, or now, a year later. What's today, March 17th. So we're over a year from that date. Friday the 13th was a bad Friday the 13th, wasn't it? Pretty crazy what happened then and what continues to go on now. So I'm Brett Chittum. I'm going to introduce myself here. Oh, let me see here. It looks like I've got to give myself back control. Nope. Sorry, everybody. I've got to do a quick change here and make sure that you all can see my slides.
We can see all your slides right there.
There we go. Well, we're going to see from you guys on the course there, you're going to see this, but I'm going to just do this then. So I want to introduce myself, Brett Chittum. I'm with Chittum Consulting. I've been a business consultant all my life, in essence, because of what I've done. I started in insurance, like Mark alluded to. I spent 26 years in the insurance industry, and most of you know who I am. During that 26 years, I learned a lot about what to do, but more about what not to do. And that's what I go and do. And I help other businesses, IT companies. I've worked with some realtors. I've worked with a number of different businesses and helping them build processes and put processes in place to help streamline their business. What happened March 13th in my business was a decline as well. Saw a big decline in people wanting to spend money because businesses, what did they face? They faced a lot of challenges when it came to doing business in the normal world, right? So when we look at normal, I bring up the picture of my family for two reasons. I've almost held up three, but there's two reasons why I brought up my family. First off, when you're in business or when you're doing anything, you need to understand your why. What is your why when you think about why you do what you do? Here's my why. My family, my wife, Linda, my daughter, Jenna, my son, Nicholas. I get teared up every time I talk about my family, only because I love them so much. And they are my why. They are a reason I'm as passionate as I am about doing what I do every single day. I get up because of them. And I work because of them and because of myself. I got some self-worth too, right? But here's the other reason why I bring them up. So my wife works for a completely virtual company. 175 employees and no office to be said for this company. It is a completely virtual online company. They do continuing education for the medical side and early childhood learning. So that's what they do, and she's the account for them. So she works in a virtual environment all the time. She's using virtual tools to communicate and build strong relationships with her coworkers and with vendors and with people out there in the world. They're one of the largest continuing education companies in the world as well when it comes to that healthcare and the early childhood learning. My daughter, Jenna, a few years back, we went on a journey with her, and she went to all online school a few years back. So she's doing virtual learning. She started it prior to March 13th, but she's doing virtual learning. But at 15, she's already a junior in high school and almost finished with her junior year at 15 years old because she's accelerated herself because of virtual learning. My son, Nicholas, who's a full-time student at Eastern Michigan University, he's a baseball player there, and he has to be on campus. Has to be, as a baseball player, has to be on campus. Not one of his classes is in person. He lives in a dorm that has to be paid for, and not one of his classes are in person. They're all virtual. So he's in a virtual environment. How many of you are sick of Zoom? Jim, you're not sick of Zoom?
I love it.
I bet you people out there, I'm sure, sitting there at your chair in front of your screen has gotten to a point of, oh no, another Zoom call. It's our new reality, guys. It is our new reality, and we have to be prepared for anything, because although we're over a year since this pandemic really hit us in this area and hit the world, and everything started to shut down, we now had to do things differently. Businesses had to think differently. People that were working in a desk at an office had to go home and learn how to work from home. Restaurants, catering, events suffered and still continue to suffer dearly today. But what we found out was people started to realize they could do business from home. They could figure out some other ways to do catering events, right? They could figure out, restaurants figured out that they could do takeout and better takeout and actually do things, but yet we're still struggling. Some businesses flourished. I worked with the business for the last 9 months that flourished immensely in what they were doing, built and had the best year they've had. I've heard of other businesses that have had the best years they've ever had. My wife's business had the best year they ever had. Well, for her, continuing education, everything online, people were home, right? People were working from home, and they figured out it worked. It worked. People could work from home and be as productive, if not more. But we still have to be prepared for anything, right? So we look at what we're thinking about when we have these Zoom meetings or when we do different types of video conferencing, right? This is kind of our new reality, right? The titles don't go back to normal. I want to hit home on that at the end more so, but I would ask, why would you want to go back to normal? Because what was normal for you? Were you prepared for COVID-19? Anybody here?
No.
So why would you want to go back to before that and be a part of that, where you're not prepared for what is to come? I wouldn't. I don't want to. I struggled. A lot of my friends struggled. I have friends in the restaurant business that will never open up again, or they had to sell, and the other people, thank goodness they were able to sell, and then somebody else has taken over. But it changed people's lives, and they weren't prepared. So why go back to normal? Why go back to being unprepared? So when you think about it, we're doing Zoom calls, right? Right now, we're actually meeting in person, and it's actually good to see faces. I got to be honest with you. It's good to see you guys not on a Zoom call. For you guys on Zoom, well, I get to see you on Zoom, and I'm used to that now. But there's other ways that we are going to be meeting as we move out of the old normal, the old holy crap moment, to a new normal, a new way of doing business. We're going to have to sometimes meet people with masks. You guys are all wearing masks. I'm lucky the state of Michigan has allowed me to stand up here and not wear a mask when I'm talking with you. But we're socially distant. which is good. You're all wearing masks, which is good. But that's something we didn't prepare for a year ago or over a year ago. We didn't prepare to have meetings with people without seeing their smile, without seeing their frown, without being able to tell some of the mannerisms of people based on their facial expressions. So we've had to prepare for that. We've had to learn that you look at the eyes now, Mark, and you're starting to smile a little bit, and there it goes. And you start to learn to read things differently. We have multiple senses within our bodies, and we start to see things differently. We're very visual people, right? Most people are visual in some way, shape, or form, but we like to touch. I'm not going to reach out and touch you. I like to shake hands. The weirdest thing is I can't do that anymore. How do you prepare for that when you're used to shaking somebody's hand? I've had to go meet with CEOs, and the first thing I would do is, "Hi, I'm Brett Chittum. Nice to meet you." It's like, I have to hold my hands back, because if I reach out, they feel inclined to reach out. And then you got to do a little fist pump or an elbow pump, right? You got to be prepared for anything. At some point, we're going to get back to meeting in person, face to face, without masks. That's a long time out. And for some people, it may never happen. Some people may be so fearful of what has happened with COVID-19 and the next virus that may come out, that they're not going to come out without a mask on. They're not going to meet you in your business without a mask on. They're not going to let you come into their business without wearing a mask. It was to slow the curve. But every time we try to come back from slowing the curve jumps again. We're seeing that again today. The curve jumps. People are getting vaccinations, but at a quicker rate. We need to be quicker in that, right? We need what we call herd immunity, but still there are going to be people that are going to be afraid. There's new variants coming out, right, of this COVID-19 and this and that. And media has scared us to a point that there will be people you never get to see their face again unless you're on a Zoom call. So we got to be prepared for anything when it comes to not going back to normal. When you think about phone calls, so we were talking a little bit about insurance, weren't we? And Mark, you actually use text a lot.
Mhm.
You're a text guy. You texted me a question the other day, but phone calls are a big thing when it comes to business, and we need to, more so now than ever. I mean, for you, Heather, you go out into the community to drop your newspapers off. How's that been?
Ask Jim, he does it for us.
Right? But you have to go drum up the business.
Yes,
What has become your most important tool now?
my phone.
Your phone.
Uh-huh.
What I would suggest, and we talked in the beginning, what did you say? You get somebody on the phone, and then what?
Try to get them into the office.
You try to get them into the office. Are they coming into the office?
It depends.
It depends. What I would suggest in this new normal, and I might say that a few more times, but I really hate that terminology, new normal, but it's true. There's a new normal out there, and it's video. And taking that phone call and transferring to video as soon as possible in some way, shape, or form. So you think about that for a minute. You get somebody on the phone, you're talking with them, you're trying to sell them the product you offer. And then you say, normally, hey, why don't we meet? Why don't we talk? And why do we want to meet and talk? Anybody want to answer that question?
Connection.
Connection,
So you can see the expressions.
right? See the mannerisms,
Build rapport.
build rapport. That's a big one, right? Every sales process, it's either number 2 or 3 is build rapport, or 1. 1, 2, or 3 is build rapport. That's the biggest and most important thing we can do. Can you do it over the phone?
Yes.
You can, somewhat, right? People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. Well, they're going to know you quicker. They're going to know you, not quicker, but they're going to know you, and they're going to probably like you by talking on the phone. But building that trust over the phone is a little bit harder, isn't it? because getting people in front of you in some way, shape, or form. So in this new normal, in being prepared for anything, is transferring from that phone to at least a video chat until you get to a point where you can actually meet them in person. Because for the people that a year and a half from now are still going to be wearing masks, might be all of us, we don't know. Who knows what's going to come out? Who knows what variant is going to change? But getting to a point of getting in front of them to see your mannerisms and you really see theirs. Because if you see in this first picture up there, oh, I didn't put it up there. There it is now.
I'm gonna lower the screen.
What?
I'm gonna lower the screen.
Okay, go ahead, lower the screen. This lovely young lady's on the phone and she's talking. Have you ever heard of smiling when you talk on the phone? Because it makes a difference, right? Why do we do that? Because we don't want people to think that we're bored with the conversation. We want that when you smile, it changes your whole vocal pitch, it changes your mannerisms, but you still can get distracted. I've been on conference calls where they're just phone calls, and I'm a doodler. I'm a doodler. I'll draw massive artworks on my note page and get lost in the conversation and not realize where I'm at when I'm answering yes to something. And, oh, I'm the president of the group now? Great, I didn't know I was answering yes to that. But transferring to a video gets you more engaged in that conversation, gets the other person more engaged in that conversation, because you actually start to see each other. You get to look in the eyes. You get to see what color eyes they have. You get to see what smile they have. You get to see that without a mask. Now, I actually did a Zoom call the other day with a mask on just to be funny. It wasn't. It wasn't fun. It wasn't, but I got to try to do that. I just wanted to see how that was going to work out in my life and be a little, I'm a jokester when it comes to it. But you get to see people in the way they talk and in the way they move. So I'm going to go over 6 steps in just a minute of how we actually do effective video calls. But I wanted to hit the point that if you're on the phone, and especially today, because we don't know when restrictions are going to be lifted. Some people work in essential businesses. Insurance is essential. People have to have it. They have to meet with you. Real estate is kind of essential in a way. People kind of have to sell their homes and they have to buy a home and live there. Newspapers are news, so there's essential workers there. Photography, well, you're going to do a lot more video. I understand. And for you guys out there, I know Tom Borg's out there, and Tom, you and I talked a lot over this last year. And business in our business is a little different. We're not used to doing these things. We're used to sitting across the desk from somebody and having a conversation. But getting to the video part, because our kids have learned to do it. How many of you guys have kids that have friends in other states and they've never met in person? My daughter, my son, they both, because they learned something prior to COVID-19. They learned that you could build a strong connection with people from elsewhere by doing video chat, by doing Snapchat, TikTok. Oh, TikTok's a crazy thing. And my daughter will bring up these TikToks to me and we'll sit there and watch these TikToks for hours. And I'm like, what happened to the time? But they have learned to build a connection with people through that. Think about movies for a minute, or TV. How many of you guys just on video feel connected with a character? You get connected with that person that's on TV some way, you feel their pain when they're going through it. You know, it's some drama or some happiness, and you start to feel that, right? I feel a connection with Sandra Bullock. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I feel a deep connection with her, and I know she has a deep connection with me. Probably not, but because of video, because I could see how she was, right? I could see how actors act and how they play the part and they do the mannerisms, and you can see all that. You can build a strong connection virtually with people. You can, without having to meet them in person, but it has to be through a video of some sort where they can see you in a virtual face-to-face. Yes, Mark?
Question. I've always learned to read body language, dealing with tonality and stuff like that. Does that translate as well through video instead of being face to face?
It can, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that's one of the 6 that you need to do. So we'll get there, definitely. Thank you for bringing that up. So I'm going to go back, hold on, let me go back real quick to this guy here. So notice the difference in their faces, and I didn't have to search very long to see somebody on the phone, not as happy to be on the phone, but someone on a video conference call happy to be there. Prior to my mom passing away, she was a technical person. She had Skype, and we got to talk on Skype all the time, and I still felt connected with my mom doing that. Video does that for us, you guys, it does, but we have to do it right. So when we look at efficiency, somebody was talking, somebody was out on the Zoom, was that Jan talking about she was gonna, if she got here, she wasn't gonna be able to drive to get to her next meeting or make it to her next appointment, right? If she came here, so that's why she's on the Zoom call right now. Interesting that she brought that up because we talk about efficiencies. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't drive an hour to go meet somebody for a 30-minute meeting, but why would you? Anybody want to answer that? You can, there's no wrong answer. Why would you drive an hour for a
Because
30
you've
minute?
already done Zoom.
You've already done Zoom? Yeah.
You've already met them. You want that one-on-one connection.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So there are a lot of people.
Well, I would do it. I would do it just because I want to build a deeper relationship with those people. I want to look them in the eye. I want to be able to build on things we have in common that don't come across on a video screen. So it's my norm to drive an hour to come to that meeting. But when you talk about efficiency, today that had to happen. And so I do think it gives us a better opportunity for productivity.
Absolutely. When I'm doing some consulting now with a couple different companies I just brought on in the last week that aren't even in this state. One's Raleigh, North Carolina, one's in Alabama. And working with that partnership to do some things. And we first started talking on the phone and then we went to a video call. They weren't going to do business with me just on the phone. They had to see me in person. And what we've noticed, and you said something, Janet, about connection. We have a sense to feel connected with people, right? But guess what? You should realize now, because of the last year, you do feel some sense of connection when you have a video call. Don't you? We do. Because it was the only way. We had no other choice. And businesses realized productivity increased in their employees that were now working from home. Why do you think that is?
They could wear pajamas to work.
There you go. What, business on the top, party in the bottom,
That's
right?
right.
All right. They could wear pajamas to work. Why else? What were some of the other efficiencies that people found?
No drive time.
No drive time. Yeah, but you weren't driving during your work hour, were you? You were driving before you got to work.
I guess it just depends on the job and what you were doing,
Correct.
you know,
Correct.
but for sales,
Drive time.
driving is a big deal.
Yes, it
Takes
is.
up a lot of time.
In real estate too.
Uh-huh.
Mark?
Jan.
Jan?
One of the benefits for me is that I get to keep my slippers on, keep my jammy bottoms on, put on a pair of pearls and a jacket, and still look professional.
Except when you stood up. I'm totally kidding, Jan. No. I totally get it. My wife has a picture of me where I'm talking to somebody and I've actually got a suit on and I'm wearing shorts. And she took the picture of me while I was doing the call. And I begged her never to show that to anybody because it was very ugly. But anyways, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, even in my profession, I have to go. I have to show a home. I have I've actually had clients that are from out of state. We've done virtual calls with them,
Mhm.
showing them the house and everything else. We have COVID rules we have to follow. So it's, if we can only have a maximum of 4 people in the house, you can't touch anything. There was a lot of things I had to follow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of things.
I think it causes people to work more. Like my wife is at home, she's been working from home, but I come on, sometimes 9 o'clock, she's still on. I'm like, what are you doing?
You're still working. You're still working. My wife had to separate her office into a certain place in the house, and she actually shuts the doors when she's done it at the end of the day. She shuts the doors and doesn't go back in there because that's her office and workspace, right? Everybody heard of water cooler talks, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where you talk at the water cooler, you get up to go to the restroom and you pass 3 people and you end up having a 3 to 5 minute conversation. People come to your office and say, hey, do you have a quick moment?
Never quick.
Right? That's what stopped when people went home to work. Productivity went up. And people, trust me when I say this, I hate it when people say, trust me, but trust me when I say this, that most people that work in an 8-hour day at an office are working only about 5. People that work from home, yeah, they're going to maybe switch their laundry out.
Let the dogs out.
Let the dogs out. My wife's doing that all the time.
Mhm.
Make sure that the productivity of people working at home is about 7 hours. So you gain more time from employees, and businesses that would not let people work from home prior to COVID-19 figured out that, wait a minute, this works. This works. There are businesses that are not going to allow their people back. They're going to start shutting down their commercial space that they're paying all this rent for. We talked about rent with you. You could have gone into a commercial space and rented a space, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't, but that's why you've been able to survive.
Yeah.
Businesses are figuring out that you can do things virtually and be more efficient, more productive, and do more sales. Think about this. I don't know what your close cycle is in your businesses. I don't know if, it's 10 people you got to talk to sell one. Is it 5 people to sell one product? But imagine if you're driving around doing that and you talk to 5 people in a day and you sell one product to 5 people. So what's that what's that close ratio about? 5 to 20%. That was an easy number to not figure out. 20%. I didn't say I was a math whiz, okay? That's why I use Excel and calculators. But so you get 20%, right? So what happens between drive time? How many of you guys are actually doing work between drive time? You might be on the phone. You might be talking to somebody, but are you actually doing a work thing during your drive time between appointments? And how much prep time did you have to gather up all the information, maybe get your laptop put together, get everything ready before you drove that 15, 20, 30 minutes? Right? You eliminate a lot of that. And let's say you could see 5 people in a day. If you were driving around as a salesperson, you can now talk to 10 on the phone or video chat. Your prep time, well, everything's on your computer, right? Everything's there. So your prep time is less. You can input information. When I first got into insurance back in the early 90s, we were still doing paper applications. I was loving it when we went to a computer screen, because then I could just plug things in. And I did that on the phone all the time. And I made sure I got all that information. So when the client sat in front of me, I was done. Well, we can do that over video. Hopefully you have 2 screens. And you can have one screen with the video of the person, this screen with your application to fill in that customer information, right? Your efficiencies go up. And that's what businesses figured out. Businesses that would never let somebody work from home are thinking, why did we not do this 10 years ago? They are. Now, if you're essential, like with Mark here, Mark, you do work from home somewhat, but your tellers don't work from home.
Right.
Your member services people don't work from home. Why? Because they have to be working here in an essential service. People want their money, right? Or at least want to have a feeling that they have access to their money. So why would you drive an hour for a 30-minute meeting? Yes, Jan, you want to build that connection. But what we're finding out in this last year is we can still build a connection. Is it as strong? Half a dozen, you know, it could be as strong, but we've learned as humans that we can do that over video. So when we think about the different video options that we have out there, I want to talk about this for a brief second, but the most important part about what I want to talk about is make it sound and look good. You've got Microsoft Meetings, or Microsoft Teams. That one's going to be something that's more enterprise, and there's a cost to it. I think Office 365 includes a smaller version of Teams if you have an Office 365 account. But you got Google Meet. If you have a Gmail account, guess what? You have a Google Meet account for free that you can use. Free. And I always say if it's free, it's for me, because that's what I go by. I haven't gotten to where I'm at by paying for everything, okay? There's Zoom. Zoom is free. There's a certain, and if you're doing a one-on-one conversation with somebody on Zoom, it's unlimited. Now, if you add more people, they do limit minutes, I think up to 40 minutes, and then you actually have to pay, and I think it's 5 people or more. But for a one-on-one conversation, you can do a Zoom call for free. Now, if you're having more than 30-minute meetings with people, you need to restructure your meetings, because 30-minute meetings I have found are where that's that sweet spot when you work with people. 30 minutes, you can keep their attention for that 30 minutes. 45 minutes, you start losing people's attention in that 30 to 45 minutes. And after an hour, we start losing everybody's attention, right? You want to do meetings, you want to be quick, you want to build rapport fast. You want to, you know, offer your services, but you need to do it in a quick amount of time. How many of you guys are Apple users? iPhone Apple users, right? You got FaceTime. You know what? I can talk to my sister in Australia. She lives in Australia. I haven't visited yet, but I don't want to do the 19-hour flight. I can talk to her and I feel that connection when I talk with her, because I've done it enough to feel that connection with her, right? And if she wasn't an Apple user, I would have to get some other app, and there is an app for that too. But we do that conversation for free. 10 years ago, that conversation that we had, that we talked for an hour, would have cost me hundreds of dollars.
And they got group FaceTime too.
They got group FaceTime now.
Yep.
It's awesome, but it's free. Now, if you are an Android user and you have friends that are Apple users, guess what? There's WhatsApp. WhatsApp actually gives you another phone number, gives you texting ability and video chat amongst all mediums, Android, Apple, Microsoft. So WhatsApp, and it's a free app, gives you a free phone number. So if you're looking for that phone number to give out to people because you don't want to give them your real number, get WhatsApp, it's free. You get a free number. You have Skype. Skype is still around. I promise you that. Skype is still around and being used. For the personal user, it's free. And if you're a business, you can still get a free account, okay? And Skype is another low-cost thing.
Duo?
All of these, what'd you say, Marlon?
You got Duo?
Duo's another one. Yeah, there's a number of them out there. If I placed them all up there, but these are the ones I'm familiar with and the ones I've used. And if you notice, if you've ever been on a Zoom call, a Microsoft Teams call, or a Google Meets call, they're all very similar in how they work. So the user interface is very similar and user-friendly when you have these different ones. So, but my point is that there are different methods that don't cost you a dime, even in business, to have conversations with people via video chat. But we need to make it sound and look good. How many of you guys have been on a video chat with somebody and they're like max headroom, you know, or you can't hear them, or they sound like they're in a tunnel, right? Or you hear everything in the background. That's another thing, backgrounds. Now on the chamber calls, I actually mess around with my backgrounds and put different things up during a Zoom call, but that's more about, I'm having fun with people I know. What's your background look like? Have you ever actually turned on your camera and then looked at your camera to see what the background looks like? You should be thinking about that too when you're having, especially in business and trying to build a strong relationship and get from that know and like to that trust, is looking at your background. I have a dog that likes to go right where people can see over my right shoulder, her spinning around and scratching her back on the carpet and all that stuff. So when I have calls that are important calls, I shut the doors and make sure my dog is not in the room, because she'll inevitably go right there to where everyone can see her and do that. You need to make it look good, right? How's your camera? Are you using a laptop camera? What?
I have a comment about the background.
Okay.
That's why we lowered the screens, because a lot of people have light behind them
Mm-hmm.
and it washes it out and you can't see the person.
Right.
So don't sit with the window behind you.
That's
And we noticed that because the sun came up and.
And you are facing east right back there.
Right,
My
exactly.
back's facing east, so the sun's coming up and it's arising. It's important to know, lighting is important as well. I actually have a camera light when I do Zoom calls. I have lighting in my office, but if I turn in on my office at home, there's one light behind me. It looks like it gives me a halo. I'm in a true halo, and I'm no angel. For those of you that know me, I'm no angel, but it gives me a halo. And so what I do is I turn those lights off, and I have a camera light. Cost me $39.99 on Amazon, and it's right there behind my video cam, my webcam, and it lights right up on me. Takes all the shadows away, so you don't have the shadows of my glasses. And since I have the non-glare glasses, which is kind of cool, there's no glare in my eyes as well, so people can actually see me. And I can adjust it to make myself look more tan. I can do all those things as well, but you need to make it look good and sound good. If your microphone on your computer makes you sound like you're tinty, or if your microphone on your computer makes you sound like you're in a tunnel or in a hallway, someone doesn't want to listen to that for the next 30 minutes, right? You're going to lose their attention, because what are they thinking about? Boy, he sounds like he's in a tunnel. Trust me, minds wander. Make it sound good. Get a lapel mic. I actually have a lapel mic that I'll sometimes use when I'm having. Now I put it down low so they can't really see it when I'm having the conversation, or sometimes I'll let them see it. The camera, if you guys all look back to that camera, it's the Logitech C920. They got the 930 out there. That's the one I use. And I don't have to use a lapel with that camera, because that microphone really picks up well. It picks up well, it deadens room hall noise, it deadens echoes. That's probably the best camera you can get it for $69.99 at Best Buy. Low cost. Look, everyone's looking at it, okay. Good. But do these things. And if you haven't done a video call, and if you haven't done a video call by now, you must be living under a rock. But you know how people look, because you can look at the Brady Bunch view, right? I love the Brady Bunch view. And I'm trying to make it where I can have 100 people on one screen, but I don't have a screen big enough to do that. But you can see where they look good, And I do this in every Zoom call. I look, oh my gosh, did they not clean their camera lens? Boy, I try to wipe my screen just to see if I can see them. Make it sound good. You want to build trust. You want people to know and like you and build that trust. Make it sound good and make it look good. And we'll move on. Now let's get to the 6 things. I'm just going to list them right now, and then I'll talk individually about each one. Number 1, turn your camera on. And I'll get to that in a minute. Turn your camera on. Number 2, have a conversation like you would in person. We talked about mannerisms, right? And number 3 is going to kind of get that a little bit more. But have a conversation like you would in person. Okay? Does that make sense? Be animated and interject. On a Zoom call yesterday, there was one person that wasn't interjecting at all. I almost said something. By the end of the call, she was talking a lot, which was cool. But for the first 25, 30 minutes, she didn't say a thing. And I was shocked because not a call I was on with you. So you're looking at me like, who was it? Who was it? And the call only lasted about 30 minutes. So she had about 5 minutes to interject when she decided to start interjecting into that phone call. But you need to interject. You need to be animated. I'm a hand talker. Okay, I carry a pen. This is actually my stylus pen for my computer. It's also my clicker. But I always try to have something in my hand because if not, I start to touch my face. So I always try to have something in my hand. I'm a hand talker, right? But you got to do that when you're in person or when you're on video. Be yourself, right? That's the other thing. Oh, I'm not. That'll be at the last one. But here's an important one. How many of you guys are stalkers? Stalkers. Jim, you're a stalker. I know you're a stalker, and everybody out in Zoom land is laughing their heads off right now. Understand that you need to know the other person you're talking to, and there's ways to do that. We'll go over that. Share your thoughts and offer feedback on calls, on video calls especially. If you're doing meetings where you're trying to, let's say, Mark, you're meeting with a husband and wife, the husband's somewhere else than the wife, right? And then you have you and your wife because you're a team and you guys are in two separate places. What happens if you're doing all the talking?
My partner just sits back and doesn't say nothing.
Right. But shouldn't they?
They should.
They should. And I don't see that ever happening because I know Patty,
Mhm.
I mean, she's probably gonna talk over you more than you talk over her,
Right?
and which is a good thing. But share your thoughts and offer feedback. And we're gonna and then be true to yourself. Be true and be yourself. If you're gonna build trust, if you're not yourself in those initial video conversations, people are gonna figure you out sometime, somewhere. I'm always this corny, okay? I'm always this animated when I talk, unless I'm really tired. But be true and be yourself, because if you're not, you're gonna get found out. And that supposed trust that you've been given by that potential client will be gone. So be true and be yourself. So let's talk about the first one. Turn the camera on. I'm on Zoom calls every day. I'm on Zoom, Microsoft Team calls. I'm on Google Meet calls, depending on what the client has or what they've set up with me or what I've set up with them. How many of you guys have been on a call like this? When you look at that and you see that there's a few people with cameras on, but you got somebody called in on a phone and just did a phone one, and somebody that doesn't have a camera on. Do you ever think, what do you think about that? Let's get a poll here. And you guys out in Zoom land can give us a poll as well.
Why are they hiding?
They don't want you to see the background?
They don't want you to see the background, right?
They're not engaged.
They're not engaged. Yeah, what, Jim?
They're not video ready, they just got out of bed.
Okay.
Multitasking, doing 8 other things.
Multitasking, there we go. They're multitasking, right?
Yes.
Do you build trust with somebody you don't see their face in a call like this?
Not at all.
Right. Can you connect with that person?
No.
Now, I'm on a number of different boards, and there'll be some times where I'm driving and I have a board meeting and I let people know, hey, I'm here, I'm driving. I don't want to have it on and I don't want you guys to see me get in an accident. So I'll turn my camera off. And there's sometimes you have to do that. But that's a meeting that these people know me. I'm just there to say yay or nay, to offer my motions, things like that. It's not something that I'm there to be seen. But when you're having a conversation with somebody that could be a potential client of yours, you should never have your camera off. Turn your camera on, because you've got the people on top that are engaged in that conversation and they're happy, but we have no idea. And is that Mike? What Mike's doing? And the guy on the phone, I don't know who that is. Now, sometimes this has to be, but if you're going to be doing business and selling a product, turn your camera on. Let the people know, even if they don't have their camera on, turn yours on. Let them see you and actually see who you are. Because if you look at this one, everybody's engaged. They're all waving. I think they posed for that picture. But they're waving, they're happy, and they're all engaged. And they're all talking and having a meeting most likely, and having fun, getting to know each other, seeing mannerisms, right? So turn that camera on. You don't have a clock in the back, Mark. Have a conversation like you would in person. So when we go out and we have coffee with somebody, we're sitting at the table across from them and we're looking, you know, eye to eye, and we're sitting there drinking a cup of coffee. And why does it have to be any different over video?
You gotta be cognizant of which screen the camera is on. If you got multiple screens, because sometimes you look like you're looking away, but.
Right. And you may want to mention that. I've had conversations. Go ahead. Oh, okay. Jim's messing with his computer and started an echo in the room. All right. So if you're having a one-on-one conversation with somebody, be yourself, right? Have it like you would in person. Now, yes, if you're in a meeting, you might be a little more reserved in a business setting, but still act like you're in person. Act like you're sitting around that boardroom table. Act like you're sitting in that conference room with them. Because as we start to do more and more video calls, have you guys noticed a more comfortable feeling with it? A more familiarity with sitting around and almost feeling like someone's in a room? I'm a part of Motor City Connect, and we have virtual happy hours. We're drinking. We actually have a drink. We do a cheers with our drink. Most of the time I tell them it's rum and Coke. It's really just Pepsi. But I tell them it's rum and Coke. They don't know. But have a conversation like you would in person with the people that you're connecting with. Because if you don't, they're going to tell. Don't be scripted. Don't be distracted. Now, you said something about looking at another screen. So I have dual monitors. My camera's right in front. And when I'm on a call and I'm talking to somebody, I'm talking to the camera, but then I say, hold on just a minute, I'm gonna look away because I gotta type something on this screen. I will mention that to somebody, just so they don't think I'm disinterested in that conversation. Because I will do that, I will turn, and you see people doing that on Zoom calls with multiple people. People are sitting around, we were with Mike Kuntz on a call yesterday, and if Mike is listening or gonna hear this recording, sorry, but it was funny watching you eat. Okay, but he was himself, right? He was having a conversation like you would in person. If you're going to talk across the table from somebody, you might take a bite of a Danish, or drink a sip of coffee, or drink a sip of that beer. Do it like you're doing it in person. Because these people here, what we've got in these pictures are people that are connecting in person, but we can do it the same on video. We can. This is the new normal, guys. This is going to be going on for years to come, because there are going to be people, like I said in the beginning, are going to be afraid to meet you in person. Now, once they get that connection, yeah, I'm going to drive an hour for a 30-minute call with that person, for a 30-minute meeting with that person, when they allow me to do that. Okay, when they allow me, because you know, we want to continue to build connections. All right, be animated and interject. So when I look at you, at YouTube, or in Zoom, I'm coming up to the camera, I'm talking, hey, how you guys doing? And I'm using my hands and I'm interjecting, I'm smiling, right? I'm doing those things because I want someone to know who I really am. Be animated like you wouldn't. Are you animated in person when you talk? Be animated. Laugh, love. Not too much, but be the person you are. Don't be the person you're not. Don't be a person you're trying to pretend to be. Be the person you are, because people want to do business with you. And if they can see you on the video and feel like they're connecting, we connect with actors. I said that in the beginning, right? We connect with actresses and actors on the screen. We do, because we're seeing their mannerisms. They're on a screen. They don't even know we're watching, but they're on a screen, right? And we still feel that connection. We've been doing that since the 50s. Well, when did TV come out? I don't know. I wasn't born then, but people have been connecting with people on video since the start of TV. And then in plays prior to that, they were connecting with people up on a stage. You connect with people this way. We just were forced to do it over this last year. We were forced to do it and forced to realize that, hey, I remember my first Zoom call, by the way. I remember the first one after, and I'd been locked up in my house for about a month. And I was talking a lot on the phone and doing a lot of different things. And I was doing we had some talking that we could do over our headsets that I could talk to other people, from around. I was working with Tom Lawrence and doing some stuff with him, and I could talk with the other employees that he had there. And we were doing a lot of different process development. And I remember the first Zoom call. I got to see somebody, and don't my wife won't take this wrong because you understand. I got to see somebody other than my wife. I got to see, I think it was a chamber event, and we did a Zoom call, and I got to see Heather, I got to see Mark. Jim, you're always on those too. And I got to see people who I was familiar with, and it made me feel good again. You remember that first Zoom call after you'd been locked up and how you felt? I said in the beginning, how many of you are starting to not like Zoom anymore, and you all raised your hand and getting sick of Zoom? But remember that feeling you had when you first did it, and you first could connect with somebody, right? And you could be animated, you could talk with people, you could act like you were sitting around the room. Hold on, let me go back real quick here. And you could act like you were sitting around the room with other people, either on a couch or you're in the comfort of your own home. Be animated, interject in the conversation, say things, be you. It's good news, right? All right, research other people prior to meeting them. This has been an old adage, but we have technology today that allows us to do this in a much better way. How many of you guys have a LinkedIn account? Right? How many of you have a Facebook account and have Instagram, Twitter, right? You might have Snapchat, you might have a TikTok account. Hopefully people aren't looking at my Snapchat account. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I don't use it very much. I just use it to keep track of my kids. But you can find so much online about people. Before you have a meeting with someone, and I find this very important. I always look up if I'm having a meeting with a business and I'm meeting with the CEO or I'm meeting with the owner of the business. I first go and look at their business pages and see what they're about and what they're like. Because how can I have a conversation with somebody if I don't know them, right? If I don't know who they are. You do it when you interview with people, right? When you're going to go do an interview for a job, you research the job, you research who they are so that you can bring some of their buzzwords into that conversation when you're interviewing with people. Do you stalk people prior to meeting them? Why do you do it?
So you can find a commonality, you can bond a little bit closer with them, and it's hard to do virtually. And so that just intensifies the conversation when you start having it, finding out their likes or dislikes.
Yeah.
And, where have you vacationed recently? You went to Vegas? Oh my gosh, how amazing.
Right. And you may not want to make it sound like you're stalking though, right?
Well, yes.
I heard you went to Vegas.
I saw you on Facebook is a little bit better when you're friends, right?
Yeah.
Because you're stalking without stalking.
Yes, but when it becomes a person that you're actually trying to do business with, you were going to say something, Mark.
Well, if somebody got married, got engaged, had a baby, you want to interject, and I actually do use that, and they know that,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because I'm trying to find that one common denominator to connect with them. Once
Yeah.
I connect with them, they turn into a client.
Mark recently, just to kind of talk a little bit more about that, I live in an apartment / condo with people around me, and my neighbor said or did something that I was just like, oh my gosh, these people again. And Mark knows, and we've been having open conversations about looking. He's like, hey, so you ready to move now? And I'm like, haha, you saw my comment.
Mhm.
It intensifies our relationship, and within maybe a month or two later, I'm like, hey, Mark, I need to move, need your help.
And to add to that, we actually had a full video conference call on my phone with her and her boyfriend, Patty, and I.
Mhm.
And we're sitting here and I'm just holding it out here, and all of a sudden my Siberian Husky comes into the picture. So it also shows that we're normal people too. We've got pets and stuff, and
Yeah.
they got excited seeing the dog and everything, so it just made things even happier.
Right.
Yeah.
It's important to understand a person and build, because you can't build rapport with somebody unless you can find common ground somewhere, right? And just being human is not common enough. Okay. One thing I will warn you about, don't fake it. Okay. There are people that, I'm sure there are people that are sick of talking to me because of how much I talk about baseball. Baseball has been a part of my life for a long time. And I talk a lot about baseball. And I'm sure at some point, and in fact, there are Zoom calls and people ask me, how's your son doing? And I sit there and think, oh, I don't want to say it again, because not everybody here wants to hear about it. I think I said that on a call the other day, right? Not everybody here wants to hear about how my son's doing, because not everybody connects with baseball. Don't fake it. If you're not into knitting, don't tell somebody that you know they're into knitting, that you like knitting. Because you might get into conversations you don't know how to respond. And that's that going to do to you, right? If you don't like soccer, don't pretend you like it. If you don't like hockey or football, and I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't pretend that you do, but find a commonality with somebody. Facebook is very telling of people, right? You might look at Facebook and go, do I really want to have a conversation with this person? I've done that. I've canceled appointments because of Facebook. Research that person though. If you're having a one-on-one conversation with that person, research them. Technology is giving you the option to do so. And if you're in a video conference call, you could have their page up here, video call here, and look and go, so what do you think, you notice that they have Siberian Huskies, right? So what kind of dogs do you have? Because what do people want to do mostly?
Talk about themselves.
Talk about themselves. I paid you a lot of money to say that. Talk about themselves, right? And how do people start to feel more comfortable with you? When you allow them to do that. When you allow them to talk about their passions. Because why wouldn't you want to know your client's passions? Their hopes, their dreams, their thoughts, right? Helps you sell more life insurance, doesn't it? Helps you get into the home they want to be in. Helps you take the photographs you want that they want to have taken, right? Helps you do things to help that customer out, that client, that customer, that member, whatever you call them. It helps you to connect with them and to help them feel connected to you as well. Go ahead.
It helps you understand their why, so that you can help make their why happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it all works together.
So I had it when I was doing insurance, selling insurance, I had a picture similar to that. My kids were a lot younger. That actual picture I showed in the beginning was taken at the Taste of Downriver in Trenton. The last in-person one we had. But I had one before that with my kids when they were little. And I have actually I would have that out and it was in my mouse pad. And it says, this is why I have life insurance, right? For this, right? And that's how I would sell life insurance. And because I needed people to understand my why, I needed to understand their why as well. If people know your why, part of your elevator speech, part of your pitch should include your why in some way, shape, or form. Not 30 minutes of it, because your elevator speech should be about 30 seconds because it's from the first to the third floor, right? But it should have your why you do what you do. Why do I have Chittum Consulting? Because I have a passion to put people in a better place than they were prior to meeting with me, whether they do business with me or not. I've given a lot of free consulting away. But you know what? People gained and benefited from that. And that's okay. Because I'm going to get mine in the end, right? It's going to happen. I'm going to get my jewels, my crown in the end. So understand that other person, meet that other person, and meet them where they want you to meet them at. And that's how you're going to find it, is on social media. Instagram's an interesting one. I'm on Instagram and I get a lot of people that connect with me, but I don't use that as much as I do Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot, and I see a lot of other people are starting to move to using LinkedIn as a platform more socially than business-wise. But understanding somebody's why is how you're going to do it, through researching them and getting them to a point to talk about what they like and what they, don't let them talk about what they don't like. Let them talk about what they like. Oh, that didn't change. I'm gonna do this. There we go. Share your thoughts and offer feedback. 2, 3, and 5 are similar. Interject, right? But they're different in some specific ways, because you can offer feedback to somebody, or you can have, and feedback, when I talk about offering feedback, is acknowledging that you're still listening into the conversation. That's important. Because, and not, yes, dear. Yes, dear. No, not like that, but truly, I understand. Thank you for saying that. Having true conversations and even mimicking back what people, you talk about the mirror effect, right? People will mirror what you do, even on video. I tried it, I did. And I was on a call and I'm sitting like this and I have where at my desk, you can kind of see and where my hand's down. And the person was talking with their hands, and all of a sudden this happened. And then I put my hands like this, and the person was talking again with their hands, and then they went like this. People, it's a natural tendency to mirror, even on video. So when you're sitting to somebody and you're sitting across the desk, if you lean in, what do they do? Lean in. If you lean back, get relaxed, what do they do? If you close yourself off, what do they do? Video's the same way. And when I want to make a point, I look right into the video. Sorry, guys. But you got to sit there and offer those thoughts. I have some cool pictures. Did they come up good? Thoughts and feedback. Because being a part of a conversation and building that trust with people is not just about being present. Okay, there's being present and being present in the moment. And if you can offer thoughts on what somebody's saying, if you can offer feedback on what somebody is saying, they know you're listening. They are now building that connection with you. Our connection goes through the video camera. And this being our new normal and not going back to the old normal, we need to get more comfortable with this. And I expect that when I see you all on the next chamber conference call, that you're more animated, more, and watching your backgrounds. I'll try not to do my funky backgrounds again. I think yesterday I showed Lady Gaga when I was backstage with Lady Gaga. That was my background. But I was having fun. We were on a lunch connect. But when you're really trying to connect with a person, make sure these 6 things happen. And number 6 is be true and be yourself. And I want to stress this more than anything. How many of you have met somebody, and if it's me, don't blurt that out, that has been a certain way when you first meet them? They're really cool to talk to, really fun to be around, or you felt like you had a connection. And then the next time you met them, it was like, who is this person? I've had a few people, and if it's me, you don't have to mention it, but I've had a few people that I've, not many, but I've had a few people that I've met in business that are one way when you first meet them. And they're trying to, it's that honeymoon stage, right? It's that, oh, we're trying to, please you and be a part and bring you in and draw you into this. And then when the sale's done, they're like, okay, next. And you start to figure out that the person you did business with wasn't the person you did business with. It was somebody they were pretending to be. Never pretend, especially on video, or even on the phone or in person. Never pretend to be something you're not. Be true to yourself and who you are. Okay? Be true to who you are. And I love this quote, and be yourself. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Love that quote. I saw that and I said, I've got to show that today. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. And do you want to be anybody else but you? Do your clients want you to be anybody else but you? Can you portray that on video? So when you're on video, this is mostly important. We're in a new age and we're in a new life, okay? COVID-19 took us to a point of breaking, of mental illness, of financial burdens. It took us all through this whole aspect of where's our money coming from? People were laid off. I tell you, unemployment doesn't cover it for people. I don't care how much money they put in that stimulus package. Making money as opposed to sitting around and just getting money, it's two different feelings, okay? It's a feeling, right, in your inner self. We changed. Businesses adapted. People adapted. We've all gotten used to using video. We've all gotten used to building a different connection. It's not the same connection, is it? It's not. It's a different connection. It's not normal, is it? We're not in our old normal, our old comfort zone, right? We had to be taken out of that comfort zone. And we didn't want to be. And you see a lot of people that are very vocal about it and want to storm capitals and do things because of it. We didn't want to be taken out of that. We needed to be. We needed to be changed in our own lives. I truly believe we needed to have something like this happen to show us that there's another way, that there's a more efficient way, that we can sit there and build stronger business relationships virtually. We can. We can do it in a virtual world by doing just some simple things, right? We're going to summarize things, and then I'm going to have some questions, or ask some questions. First off, this is our new reality. We talked about that. We talked about transferring from the phone to a video call and doing that as soon as possible. Making that, because not everyone's going to want to meet with us. So getting to that video call. And we talked about why would you drive an hour for a 30-minute meeting. Eventually, Jan, we're going to do that. I promise. We're going to do that. But why would we? Well, you may not have to anymore. It's been over a year. People are more comfortable connecting with you virtually. And you can build strong relationships virtually, right? Different meeting options, we talked about those, and there's a lot of free things for you. If you don't have a Gmail account, they're free to get. Go get a Gmail account because that gives you Google Meets. And you can actually have a free video conferencing platform to use. One, it makes you look more professional when you say, hey, let's offer a video call. Makes you look more professional. A lot of different programs for you to use. If you're an Android user like you are, you and I can still FaceTime. You just got to get WhatsApp. I got to get WhatsApp, and we FaceTime, and it's for free. We can still do that. The 6 things, and I want you to think about these 6 things that you need to start doing today that we just talked about. Turning that camera on. Okay, let's make it a point as we move forward into our video conferencing calls, whether it's 100 people on the call, 50, 10, 1 and 2, 4, turn the video on. Let other people connect with you. Let other people see when you're confused about what they're saying. I'm confused, or I'm happy, or I'm like, what? Let people see that. Have a conversation like you would in person. Be animated and interject, okay? I'm an animated person. Love to be animated. I move. This has been weird, not moving side to side. It's been really weird, but I love to move around it when I talk and have conversations. Research the other person. Most important, research them prior to that meeting. Share your thoughts and offer feedback. So if you see 2, 3, and 5 are very similar, but they're different. They're similar and different. And then finally 6, be true and be yourself. That's the most important. But don't be afraid of the video calls. Don't be afraid that you're not going to connect totally with somebody, because we've all been going through it for the last year. We're all used to it. And we, in some way, shape, or form, appreciate connecting video-wise. Okay? Any questions that you guys might have? No questions? Anybody out there in Zoom land? Tom, you gotta have a question. Tom challenges me, by the way.
Brett, I think you did a great job, buddy, and I was taking some notes here, so I appreciate your cutting edge concepts that you share with us today, really keeping us on the ball. Thank you.
Cutting edge. See, Tom's got those cool words. That's why he's so successful at what he does. Tom Morgan and I talk a lot, almost too much. No, just kidding. It's time to embrace where we're at today. You can be sick of Zoom calls all you want. You can be sick of Zoom meetings, but it is the wave of the future. So go and be free. I'm giving you about 8 minutes back of your life that you didn't have before. And I think we're done. If you have any questions, though, feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter, probably too much. And you can go to chittumconsulting.com to find out what I do, how I do it, and you can find out more about me. So thank you guys very much. You got anything to say?